friends, welcome to Technique. This is Nirmal here, and in this video we're going to do the detailed review of the new Samsung Galaxy M20. So Samsung Galaxy M20 is the latest offering from Samsung in India, and this device has been announced to compete with the likes of Xiaomi and Realme, which have been gaining a pretty good market share in the sub 15K price segment. So Samsung previously had this J series to compete with the Redmi smartphones, but they never were really great in terms of the hardware. But now with the M series, Samsung is offering much better hardware when compared to the previous J series smartphones. So how good is the M20 in this price segment? Let's find out in this detailed review. So first up, let's have a look at the pricing. So the device comes with two variants. One is the 3GB RAM, 32GB storage variant, which is priced 10,999, and the 4GB RAM and the 64GB storage variant is priced 12,999. So the pricing definitely looks good. Now let's talk about the design and build quality. Now talking about the design, something that comes to your mind is Samsung hasn't done much with the design aspect. You can see this is almost similar to the previous J series smartphones. The only difference here is that the plastic quality has been improved. Now it has glass-like finishing, or rather glossy finishing. You can see the glossy finishing on the back panel, and the front panel design is something which is really good, and we would say Samsung has done a pretty good job here. So you can see that it comes with a water drop, or rather the dew drop notch, and it looks very good in terms of the performance. So you can see that the bezels have been minimalized, and it feels really nice using the device. So the front panel design definitely looks good, and overall it's slightly on the heavier side at around 185 grams. It's slightly on the heavier side because it also has a large 5000 mAh capacity battery. So that's the design aspect. Now talking about the build quality, you could see that the device comes with a plastic build, and it's quite an acceptable build, although we would have expected metal construction. But we have seen a lot of smartphones now go with this glossy kind of finishing, especially the Realme 2 Pro, Realme U1, Asus Zenfone Max Pro M2. All of these have plastic material. So even this looks quite okay, if not the best. It's definitely acceptable for the price segment. So that's the design and build quality. So design definitely feels quite okay. Build quality could have been improved, but still it's kind of acceptable. Now moving on to the display. So the device comes with 6.3 inches Full HD plus resolution display, and this also has this water drop notch. So that's one of the highlights of the device. So the water drop notch is something which Samsung has done pretty well, and the implementation also looks good. You can see that the bezels are pretty minimal and looks nice, and there is also a good colorful display on offer, and the touch response also feels pretty smooth. Even the viewing angles are also great on this device. So overall we don't have much to complain with regard to the display quality, although there is no protection offered on the display. But then a lot of smartphones do skip display protection at this price segment. Now moving on to the performance and software. So software is something which we didn't really like about this device. To be very frank, we expected Samsung to launch with Android 9.0, especially for a phone, or rather a new series launching in 2019. We expected Samsung to go with the Android 9.0 update, especially when Android 9.0 has been there for almost 6 months. But Samsung has gone in with the Android 8.1 Oreo, and this is again on top of the older Experience UI. So if you look at the Experience UI, this is something which we have seen on a lot of smartphones from Samsung. So there is no one UI on this device. Again, something which is disappointing. But the Samsung Experience UI is again a trimmed down version. A lot of features which you have seen on the S9 and S8 series are not included here. So that's something which Samsung has cut down in the Experience UI. So it does offer some decent options, including customization. Some gestures are supported, but overall we feel this is kind of disappointing, especially a lack of Android 9.0 in 2019. Now moving on to the performance of the Samsung Galaxy M20. Now this device is powered by an Exynos 7904 chipset, which is a relatively new chipset, and it's coupled with either 3 or 4GB RAM. So you can have a look at the benchmark score of this device. This is quite a decent performing chipset. You can see that it's above the Snapdragon 625, but it's not as good as the Snapdragon 636 or 660 chipset. 660 is a bit more powerful, but the 636 is something which Samsung might be eyeing but then it's not as good as the Snapdragon 636, but then decent performance overall. We could say there was no lags or whatsoever when using the device on a daily basis. We didn't see any sort of issues. It's pretty smooth experience overall, even with heavy app usage. It was kind of okay-ish performance, but when it comes to gaming, that's where we find the Samsung Galaxy M20 quite disappointing, because a couple of reasons. One is it couldn't play PUBG Mobile in high graphic settings. It was kind of laggy. Even Asphalt 9 had some issues with high graphic quality. So definitely it's not a device for gaming. And second reason being the temperature, which rose to around 47.6. So that's almost like 48 degrees, which we haven't seen on too many smartphones. Even in 2018 we haven't seen on a lot of smartphones, so that's definitely a concern for gamers. So ideally this device is definitely not for gamers. Now moving on to the other aspect, the device comes with a fingerprint scanner on the back panel. So the fingerprint scanner performance is quite good, and you can see that it unlocks the device in pretty good time, and it's quite responsive as well. Now other than that, there is also face unlock included. The face unlock performance is also pretty good. It's quite fast enough to unlock the device. Now the device also comes with dual SIM cards, and there is also dedicated SD card included. So that's again something which is pretty good included, and there is also dual VoLTE support. Now moving on to the cameras. So we have a dual camera setup. So we have a 13 megapixel rear camera with f-stop 1.9 aperture, secondary 5 megapixel camera which is a 120-degree wide angle camera, and there is also LED flash included. Now looking at the camera quality taken with this device, so we found that the camera was kind of strictly average when it comes to the rear camera performance in daylight conditions. Details are good, but the sharpness levels are kind of not that great, and color quality was kind of washed out at a few instances. And also there was some focus hunting issue, and close-up images had as the issue of focus not getting right, and we ended up with blurred images on quite a lot of occasions with the rear camera. Now low light performance is again pretty much average, a lot of noise included, and we have seen a lot of smartphones with better low light performance in this price segment. The portrait mode were kind of pretty much average again. Edge detection was pretty poor, and it was probably messing up with edge detection overall. And the selfie experience was again below average, I would say. No major details, and the selfie quality itself was kind of disappointing, especially when a lot of smartphones offer great selfie cameras in this price segment. So that's the camera aspect. Apart from that, there is also no 4K Ultra HD video recording, and so also EIS is not supported. So that's the camera. So definitely the camera was disappointing. Now moving on to the final aspect, the battery life. So this phone comes with a large capacity battery. That's something which is really good on this device. It has a large 5000 mAh capacity battery. Along with that, there is also 15 watt rapid charging or fast charging supported, and this can charge the device in around 2 hours. So that's pretty good for a large capacity battery. Now talking about the battery performance, it is pretty good. That's something which the Samsung Galaxy M20 does really good. The battery performance is good. You can get like 8 to 9 hours of screen on time easily, and it can easily last 1.5 days on moderate usage. If you're a person with very less usage, you can even get 2 days of battery life, that's standby time. So battery life is definitely great on the M20. Now summing up, so how good is the Samsung Galaxy M20? So pricing wise, this is definitely good, because 10,999 pricing and 12,999 pricing for the two variants. But now we'll list out the pros and cons of the device. So pros include good display, then we have large capacity battery, and also pricing feels quite good, and there is also decent performance on offer. So these are the pros of the device. Now talking about the cons, the gaming experience is something which is not that great. Then apart from that, also the heating when gaming was considerably higher, and there is no Android 9.0 right now available. The build quality could have been better, but then we are not complaining too much in the build quality department. And apart from that, the camera performance was also pretty much average for this segment. So should you buy the Samsung Galaxy M20? So that's the question a lot of viewers have been asking us, whether you should go with the Samsung Galaxy M20 or the other smartphones like the Asus Zenfone Max Pro M2, the Moto One Power, the Nokia 6.1 Plus, the Redmi Note 6 Pro, the Realme 2 Pro, Realme U1, Honor 8X. All these smartphones are in the sub 15K price segment. So looking at those aspects, the Samsung Galaxy M20 frankly fails to deliver on a lot of aspects, because it's kind of decent performing device and price wise it's quite good, that definitely is, and Samsung's brand value is definitely there. But then we wouldn't recommend the Samsung Galaxy M20 at this time, because we have a lot of smartphones. If you're looking for a phone in the 12K or 13K price segment, definitely we would suggest the Asus Zenfone Max Pro M2, and if you're ready to spend a bit more, the Redmi Note 6 Pro is probably the best bet out of all the smartphones below the 20K, 15K price segment. The Asus Zenfone Max Pro has almost the same capacity battery, better display, then better stock anode experience. It is also slated to get the 9.0 pretty soon, better cameras, Gorilla Glass 6. So all these things included, we feel the Samsung Galaxy M20 is not a great offering, at least at this price segment. But if you're looking for a budget offering from Samsung, this is definitely better than the J series which Samsung had been selling in this price segment. So that's all guys with the detailed review of the Samsung Galaxy M20. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do hit that like button and also hit the red subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.